Okay, so I want to originally do this as like a normal talking video, even have face cam, but one, I just woke up and I am too tired to really like actually put in that effort, and two, my OBS is currently undergoing like a just a redesign, so that ain't gonna happen. So, Vanguard got its update for English, and yeah, I'm surprised. In fact, there's a bunch of implications about it that I'll talk about later. But I think just to go over it again, first off, we got the same restrictions that JP got, which is Hamiel is banned, Meep is to one, Press pulls to one, and the choice restrict between it and Gurgwit is gone now. Which, yeah, I said I like I said in my last video, the the choice restriction, all these changes were good. It just wasn't what the format needed because there's no hits to the arguably two best decks in the entire format. Not arguably, they were the two best decks in the format according to BRO. So again, just trying to not make that video obsolete because I spent 8 minutes just going over it entirely. Uh, these were good hits, just not what the format needed. Um, Also, standard and premium didn't get any updates. I saw that coming because I feel like if they would change anything, it would be in V. I think standard is perfectly fine right now, and premium on the other hand, premium while it needs some more fixes with like Nightmare Dolls and whatnot, I think it's still probably a bit too soon to just go ahead and say yeah it needs changes. That could be me, but whatever. Uh, and then we got a second page. And then we got a second page that was more stuff, and honestly, it does kind of feel like why was this not on the original like JP list? But we'll talk about it. First off, Bermuda Triangle has a choice restriction between Silver Singer Q tier, Prism Image Rosa, and Mermaid Idol Ellie. Again, I'm probably just tired. I'm sorry. And then Shadow Paladin got a choice restriction between Goldrich Nemain, Blackshade Charon, and Dragheart Luard. Note that the choice restriction means that you can only use one of the cards in the deck. So if you choose Rosa to put in your deck, you can't add Ellie or Q tier into your deck. If we talk about Bermuda Triangle first, uh, I I'm okay with the hit, but there's still some problems. I'm not gonna lie. First off, Q tier and Ellie and Rosa being hit effectively, I don't know if it 100% kills Highlander Prism, but for the most part, like you can't. You're basically being forced to go pure, and Ellie getting hit is nice because that deck still got like a bunch of shield value off of Ellie, so restricting its defensive capabilities for Prism is actually pretty good. So I appreciate that. Which I'll say this for Prism, like the obvious choice is Rosa. Like there's no other choice because removing Rosa from your deck effect for like a Q tier Ellie effectively means that your Vert is now effectively useless. Vert would be useless, or rather, very very hard to work because now you only have like 8 slots as opposed to the 12 you would have with the actual Rosa with all your stuff. So it would just make the deck harder to play massively. So Rosa's obviously the choice you bring into your deck. There's no other way to say it. Like you're getting rid of Ellie and Q tier immediately. And I say this because there's two like different things like I don't think anyone's really talked about. Like I have read some videos. First off, is even if this does kill Prism, you can still you could still probably do like Highlander, like as in like reindeer Highlander, and probably play. And I mean that's to say like Bermuda Triangle and V has been a very generic deck. I mean, it has been a very generic clan, really. A lot of its key pieces, like Lizalot, Aqua, are are very generic. They don't need anything else. Then you have stuff like Melody, which I don't. I think hitting Melody, which was probably like its second best variation for BT, was probably the best hit because it's a deck that if Prism got hit, I think Melody would have been another choice because Melody is very strong as well. I already said that again. Old video, go listen to that. And and then even if you don't want to play QTR or you don't want to play Prism, you still have access to Ellie in other decks. Say like if you want to run whatever the Twinkle Melody boss is, you want to play Ange or you want to play Chocho Tira. Like you can still bring in Ellie into your deck and probably play that too. Like it's a good hit, but it doesn't all. The first thing is, it's a hit to Prism. However, BT as a whole can still like deal with the whole thing, right? BT can still play uh any other main boss because the main bosses in Twinkle Melody were just so vastly generic and just easier to use that even if Prism really does just get wiped out face the map, you still have all those other combos. In fact, I think you still might be able to play Melody, but it'd be much harder. Uh, so that's another thing is also you have the fight not the Fighters collection. I was gonna say the V Clan collection, which you have Referade, and now you got Referade Rock, which you have your reverse unit, but you have that. But also in that set, you also got cards such as the grade 2 and the grade 1, which are effectively replacements for QTR and Ellie, which I don't think anyone was really talking about because just you weren't paying attention to those sets if you were just waiting for this format to change. But now that format has changed, you have effectively like similar replacements. So I don't know how it's obviously like Highlander Prism is dead, but Pure Prism probably is still active even without Ellie because you have those grade 2 and grade 1s from the clan collection. So that's another thing too, right? It's like you have replacements for those cards that literally just released, so you can just slap those into the deck and bam, I think you're good. Uh, and while I say generically like BT is fine, the same can't be said true for Shadows. Uh, the main and Khan being choice through Luard, as a Luard player, I'm sad, but I understand completely. Khan being like your best counter charger for what it does is amazing, right? It's Soul Blast 1 to just get a counter charge, get +3, you get a body on board, meaning it's 11k attacker or booster. You Soul Blast 1, so you Soul Blast a grade 1, meaning that your grade 1 count is now higher up. And countercharging means that your more pushing turns are less expensive. Really, like your plays are just like one counterblast instead of like the two they would be. Now they're basically two. So now you have to be more resource protective. Like you have to really think about your resources way more now than everything. The main in terms of lore doesn't really matter because this restriction's been around for the entire time, so I can't really talk about the main in terms of Luard. What I can talk about is the main and Charon in terms of every other Shadow Paladin deck. And that's where this hurts Shadows way more. This hurts Shadows way more as a whole clan than just Luard. Because the main and Charon were like very, very powerful cards for back when Shadow Paladins weren't even good. So other archetypes that can't really abuse like Charon or the main, like they get hit really hard because just the main's really good and Charon was a countercharger primarily, and there hasn't really been like a big wave of shadow support that really helps that. So that being those being gone are really hurt. I think you're probably gonna play Nemain more than Charon in those decks if you play them at all, because I think the only like deck really you can play viably that isn't Luard is probably Revengers. I think PBO is officially dead. I don't think you can play the main and Charon. I don't think losing the main and or Charon would help PBO at all. I I think just pretty much Revengers is like the only like real play here if you're not playing Luard. So that's another thing. Um, so going into this list and then kind of like contemplating it with the old list, I think this is a much better list overall. I think the hits are effective and the hits are indeed like worth something. The problem, I think there's some cards that probably also just didn't get hit. Like I know people are talking about Grand Blue. Now that Grand Blue didn't get hit, it's probably the stronger deck overall. Uh, it probably comes in the meta. I think people are talking about like, oh well, the end or the cross might come back, and I'll say this. You know what? I'll argue that you know what? I'll take it considering just like how how like janky the entire past meta has been. So I'll take it. I will completely take just a change in the meta, even if it is like just adding Grand Blue back in the mix or the end back in the mix. I don't think it's gonna like really be as powerful as people think, but I think just having it is better than nothing. Um, but that's just me, and I'm also just still not all there yet mentally in terms of waking up. So I apologize. Another thing, the implications of this. The implications not of the list in terms of the meta, but of the list itself in terms of the Japanese English like split. And that is that now because of this, the implications are now that English can in fact make changes that Japan doesn't do. Hold on, let me rephrase that. It's more of now English has more. English can actually make changes that Japan either can't or won't do. I think that's obviously because of the producer split that happened last year, at the end of last year. Um, so having so the fact that this actually happened is first off weird because this hasn't happened in a long time for Vanguard, especially with V, which has been for the most part like the same format as opposed to D, which you have the collab boosters, and as opposed to like premium or G era where a lot of stuff was kind of like late to the party or missing, such as the token Rambu like extra like duo deck and whatnot. So V is like the one format that's like never had like a hard split in terms of like the formats. So for this to be like its first thing is intriguing. Also because after all this time, like looking at the reactions from some of the JP players on the retweet on the actual like announcement and retweet, some of them were like, okay, so is Japan going to make the same restrictions here, or you know, why can we get this too, or etc. etc. Like it's obvious that like the Japan player base knew that Prism and Luard was going to be coming. Like just no one was playing it yet, but now that they're stuck with the first half of the list, which was basically hitting all the all the tier two decks, I guess you could say, or like tier one over there at the time. Now it's like okay, well now they're all gonna be sitting on Prism. So now what do we do? What happens now if we gotta wait three more months for the metagame to shift? Like do we have to? Are we stuck playing the same meta that English had to play now, or are they going to do like a rework of their list and just be like, okay, we'll add that too if you want, we'll add it, okay. It's gonna be interesting how that's gonna change, because if English now has more, that also would mean like if they do change it, that means like the English like group now has a bit more weight in terms of how Vanguard can like actually perform and move going forward. I think that's pretty good, because I think just really like the English player base has been like stuck, just kind of like having to like bow to whatever Japan does for so long, that finally getting something that's like, oh, we actually matter, would actually be really nice. And so this is what the second half of this list does. It's like, yeah, we made changes. I know people wanting like standard hits. I don't know why there's nothing there to really hit, or premium hits. I understand that, but right now we're already kind of pushing it by basically like choice restricting cards already in the English format. We're already pushing it. I'm just saying that. Um, I think so. Just kind of like to give it like a TLDR. The list is. I think the list is fine. It's not perfect. I don't think you can really be perfect outside of just like shooting Rosa completely or doing some other things. But I think stuff like I think the list is fine, and the implications going forward for how English and JP will handle like their separate metagames going forward is intriguing. But that's all I got right now. Just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. I've been lambing off for about 17 minutes. Uh, that's pretty much it. Uh, just an update to the list. I got nothing else to say. Thank y'all for watching or listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.